as we all know, life just happens, doesn't it? My journey with this project began with my friend Jill. And Jill's here somewhere in the audience. Wave your hand. There she is. She's only little. But I want to say thank you very much. Gypsy was looking for somebody to assist her with editing a large amount of material that she had. She happened to mention it to Jill, and Jill happened to mention it to me. And voila, our collaboration was born. Gypsy and I honestly struck up a great friendship and rapport, and we worked together fabulously. But I had absolutely no idea what I was letting myself in for. I soon realised that Gypsy was working on this demanding opus in addition to her teaching, and she was funding every step of the way with the money she earns as a music teacher.
And that's a plug, everybody, for a few extra students.
Gypsy's vision, seriously, is extraordinary. And Turning Points in Compassion is testimony to that. In her indomitable, thorough, and impeccably fair way, we proceeded to unravel, sift through, and knit together the wonderful stories of people's own turning points in compassion. In time, Turning Points was ready to be born. We began contacting publishers, as you do. And after only 2 rejections, we were accepted by a well-known British company. We were very excited. However, we discovered that most of the profits would go to the publisher, and that this is the way it is. From the start, Gyps had been consistently insistent that the purpose of this whole exercise was not to profit people, but to give voice to the plight of voiceless animals through humane education and donations to animal sanctuaries and animal rescue. Now, as some of you probably know already, 100% of the profits of the book are going to these causes. That's 100%. Right? I'm humbled to be part of Turning Points in Compassion. And I'm humbled, and I could cry, I'm humbled and proud to be a friend of Gypsy Wolf. She's a most extraordinary and beautiful human being. Turning Points is about compassion. That's what it's about. Compassion to all beings. It came about to bring awareness to ordinary people like you and me about the plight of the forgotten beings, the millions of silent, sentient beings who are misused and abused daily right around the world. I have the greatest pleasure in introducing my friend Gypsy Wolf.
Well, that's really set me up, hasn't it? If you see the blood drain out of Fran's face, you know that I'm going off script. She has absolutely threatened me.
I've got the whip.
You have. We've worked for so long on this, I know she wants it to go incredibly well, as we all do. Thank you so much for coming. As I look out on this sea of support, I just feel so immensely grateful for all the love and all the support and all the encouragement that we've had through this project. Can you hear me up the back? You're okay? Joanne, can you hear me okay? Great, thank you. Good, okay. This is a day of celebration in many, many ways. Yes, it's the celebration of Turning Points and Compassion. It's been a 4-year birth, and for all those women in here who've had children, you know how long labour can be. Well, this has been a long labour for us as well. I'm also immensely grateful to Fran. She has been an amazing friend. She not only brought her editorial skills to bear, but love, an incredible drive, just a little bit of bossiness to get me over the line when I was sagging. But all in all, a wonderful friend, and not long after she started on the project, I had been paying her as a professional. She rang me up one day and said, I'm in. She had changed her dietary choices. And she just said, this is really important and I want to be part of it. And so she's given freely of her energy and her time and occasionally her finances. I've been teaching for 4 decades, it's just in the genes, I can't help it. The other thing that we're celebrating today though are the 63 contributors who made Turning Points possible. Without them the book wouldn't exist, and they have been a marvellous 63 people. Unfortunately they're all over the world, we covered 8 countries, but we do have one here, and she doesn't know that I'm going to point her out. I can see her lip dropping. Catherine, would you mind just standing up and saying hello to everybody? I'm so delighted and so appreciative because all these people that were dedicated to this work had a lot of courage and a lot of honesty. Imagine the farmers who have written about their own journey and said, we were part of this, and we don't want to be part of it anymore. In fact, we're going to tell the world that this is not the way to go. It takes a lot of courage because there's a lot of flack from their fellow farmers, especially in the middle of Texas. So we're celebrating every one of them. And those people tell us that it doesn't matter who we are, what job we have, how old we are, where we live, or what car we drive, we can make a difference to alleviate suffering of animals. And that means everybody in this room. We have the power. I'm sticking.
She's not.
We all know that all good stories start with once upon a time, and the production of Turning Points and Compassion is no different. I've been going through a series of revelations in my life. I've been teaching for a long time. And high on my list of loves, in case you hadn't guessed, are animals. I have a very deep feeling for animals, and I don't go to sleep at night without thinking about the fact that 3,000 of them are being slaughtered every second. And this started to hit me very, very deeply. And I got slowly involved in animal advocacy. And the more involved I got, the more involved I got. And that started me reflecting on my teaching life. What was I really educating kids to do and to be? We were giving the best to them, but were we really giving them something that allowed them to give the best to the planet and the other animals in it? And when I saw this growing split taking place, and I was uncomfortably aware of all these painful realities, I started to realise that I had to do something different in education. The other thing that puzzled me a great deal is why had it taken me so long to become aware of what was happening to animals? And I realised it was very heavily hidden. So in that desperation to do something, I started thinking about what we could possibly do to make a difference. We were teaching kids that pets go in one basket and food animals go in another basket. And somehow they were different, but I realised that they are all beautiful, sentient, intelligent beings. So how could we cross this huge divide? Needless to say, it was a pretty unsettling time for me. I realised that everything I had done had to be changed. And so bit by bit, I started to think about it, and I started to think about what it was that was missing. And I realised what was missing was this huge disconnection in what we teach people about animals and what really exists for animals. And the reality for animals is a very painful one. So in teaching children to be kind, we can't really teach them about the traumatic things that happen to animals because then we traumatise them. So I had to look for an acceptable and a palatable way to get the message across. I wanted children to stay connected to that enormous love they had for animals and to keep that right through adulthood and to start realising that animals share so much of our own feeling, being, nature. So if there was ever a once upon a time, I guess it was right there in my own story. That was my turning point in compassion. And as I was 50, I really wanted to be making a very positive contribution to life and leave something worthwhile on this planet. This disconnection that we're talking about is not anyone's fault. It's the way of the world, and it's the way that we've been conditioned. We don't want to know about all those awful things that happen in slaughterhouses. So what we have to do is bring the message through in a completely different way and foster that love and that appreciation so that it would be unnecessary to go this way. My first attempt was at creating children's books that I felt would give voice to the animals. That wasn't enough. I realised I had to do something for the adults.
Like for the animal?
I just realised there were so many adults like myself who simply didn't know the facts. But I didn't want to be preaching and I didn't want to be pontificating. I wanted to do it in a way that would allow people to embrace the message. So I made the decision to compile a book for adults that told people's personal stories. People resonate with the heart message because we all know about the ups and downs in life, the flat moments, the journeys, the times of soul searching and the aha moments when our perception changes. Fortunately, I found there were people whose hunger to stop the suffering of animals and care for them was the same as mine, and they were more than willing to add their voice to this project. And that's something else we're going to celebrate today because there is a worldwide awakening to this movement and people are starting to question and understand. We're opening up in a way that we haven't done before. So what's the message? The message is that animals are sentient, living, feeling beings. And we know from our experience that every animal responds to love. And animals love. We know that anybody in the room who's had an animal knows that. They bond with their own and they are intelligent and they have senses that far surpass ours. We need to redefine our perception of them and our treatment of them. Without love and care, they suffer acutely in the same way that humans do. And when they are stopped from giving love to their own kin, they grieve and suffer the same way humans do when their children are removed from them. If we can keep children connected to their love for animals, they will remain aware and connected as adults. Living proof of this can be found in the following quote from Claire Abrams, and I'm going to finish with this. Claire, who's in chapter 4, she's a 23-year-old, was raised with this awareness, having spent much of her life in an animal sanctuary started by her parents in India. I think this makes the point very clearly. My happiness is achieved through the art of learning how to engage with the world in observation with participation. My pursuit of happiness is through learning how to be an agent of inspiration. I see people all around me struggling to find meaning in their life, lacking energy and motivation, unenthused or even depressed. I want to invite anyone feeling uninspired to join in the incredible phenomenon which takes place in the expansion of our circle of compassion to include animals and their homes, jungles, oceans, mountains and the sky. We're in a terribly exciting time in the history of man in which millions of people, well done, around the world are evolving right before our eyes in what seems like almost quantum leaps. Left and right, people's levels of other awareness and compassion in the form of animal and environmental protection are increasing exponentially. It's exciting to fathom that perhaps those of us in animal and environmental protection are in an evolutionary sense similar to the tadpole who climbed out of the water or the bird who grew wings. On a more emotional level, I have found that while empathising with suffering animals on a daily basis can be painful, it has vitally enhanced my sensitivity and appreciation of beauty, grace and joy. I've heard a few activists say that sometimes they miss the days of their ignorance because the knowledge of animal suffering is such a heavy burden to carry. However, I feel the love I have given, received and been witness to in animals and the people who care for them has been so inspiring and energising that I could never even imagine what my life would be like without it. I continue to be amazed at the almost mystical quality of the emotional connection I feel for animals. I feel blessed to be in their midst, and I am in awe of my fellow defenders who are paving the way with love and compassion to an entirely new world. You also, so thank you so much for coming. It's very clear to me today that we have a lot of very open hearts in this room. It's a big celebration along with a worldwide celebration of the awakening hearts. Thank you so much for coming.
I've watched that several times now and it just cracks me up. Thank you, as Gypsy said. We're not going to say any more, but you have an inkling, a sense of why I am so humbled and proud to be part of all this. Now we're going to serve teas and coffees and delicious treats, and Gyps and I will be, so I still can't talk, Gyps and I will be out in the foyer signing books. Is there anything I've forgotten?
Just that it'd be really nice to meet those people whose faces aren't familiar to us. Families are bound by genetics to come, but I would guess so much.
Thank you. That's it. That's the end of the show, folks.